Next item on the agenda, councillors, is the confirmation of minutes from council's ordinary meeting in February 25. The mover and a seconder. Councillor Langford, thank you. Seconded. Councillor Davis. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Takes me over to item 7, which is any disclosures of interest.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Blackwell.
I have a conflict of interest for item 12.15, the Traffic Committee report, and I've chosen option A on the conflict of interest disclosure form.
Thank you. Councillor Dodd.
I have a conflict of interest at 15.5/25/82, and I will take option A as well. Stay in the chamber, vote.
Thank you. I'll try not to forget this week. Thank you for that. Okay. The next item on the agenda is mayoral minute, and there is a mayoral minute at this month's meeting. Councillors, as you can see, we've been asked to participate in the local government push for a better deal from the federal government, and with the federal election coming up, we were asked to share this motion with our council. And while you read through it, and there's a lot of asks and big numbers in there, there's an expression, if you don't ask, you won't receive. So very happy to support the push for more funding, and as most of you would be aware, the budget was handed down last night, so there's been some improvements in some areas, but still a lot to be desired. So I'd like your support in supporting the mayoral minute with this recommendation. A mover, Councillor Davis. Seconded, Councillor Blackwell. Thank you. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Next item on the agenda is 9.1, the mayoral report. Councillors, it's there in front of you. Mover and a seconder for that report. Thank you, Councillor Douglas. And the seconder is Councillor Blackwell. Thank you. Any questions? If not, all those in favour? Thank you, councillors. The next item is councillors' reports. So I'll look for a mover and a seconder before I go around the table. Moved, Councillor Davis. Seconded, Councillor Blackwell. Before I put that to the vote, having it moved and seconded, I'll start with Councillor Blackwell. You're first on the list. Any to add to that?
One to take off. Just I did not attend the iftar dinner due to health reasons.
Thank you. Councillor Dodd.
No, nothing further to add, but I would like to comment that I did meet with the Executive Director from Southern Tablelands Art, and like the Mayor has said before, it's really important that we are part of these regional organisations because they give us added advantages in things like receiving funding and in getting projects off the ground. And you'll have noticed by the Off the Beaten Track that we had a great event in the last few days. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. The next one on the list, Councillor Douglas.
Just as per minutes.
Thank you. Councillor Foreman's an apology. Councillor Gallo.
Just one to add, just the iftar dinner last night that I attended.
Thank you. Councillor Langford.
Meeting suspended, thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Mackie.
I'd like to take the 19th of March off. I did not get to the budget workshop.
Thank you. And before I put that up, I also attended the dinner last night, and it was a great night and meeting of people from all walks, and it was very, very well done, and there was ample supply of food for everyone. So a great effort done by the committee of the mosque. So all those in favour? Excuse me.
Davis hasn't spoken yet. It's not recorded.
I'll take it back.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
My apologies, Councillor Davis. I didn't see your name in the list, but obviously you're not the person who hasn't had it there. I had a bad habit myself.
Nah, that's
Would you like to present your calendar, please?
Nah, it's all right. Just one to add was the Maringo Community Barbecue, and then as minute, please.
Thank you for that. And again, my apologies. So all those in favour? Thank you, councillors. Next item would be Community Recognition Scheme. Do we have any nominations for the Community Recognition Scheme? Take that as a no. Item 12, General Manager's Report. The recommendation, receive and note the report from the General Manager. Of a mover, Councillor Langford. Seconder, Councillor Gallo. Thank you. All those in favour? Unanimous. 12.2. 12.2, Cash Investment and Unrestricted Cash Report as at the 28th of February 2025. The recommendation is to receive the Statement of Cash Investments as of the 28th of February 2025. Have a mover that way? Councillor Dodd, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Gallo. Any questions in regard to that item? If not, I'll put it. All those in favour? Unanimous. 12.13, Outstanding Rates and Charges and Sundry Debtors Report. And the reports here, councillors, and the recommendation is to receive and note the report. Of a mover, Councillor Blackwell. Second, Councillor Davis. Any questions in regard to that, Councillor Blackwell?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions. I'll give the director a moment to come up before I start. The first question is the proportion of people who are overdue over 4 months on their rates has gone up about 5% since January, and with regards to water, it's gone up from 50% to 75% are overdue over 4 months. Can anyone comment on what plans we may have to, pardon the pun, clamp down on some of that overdue water and rates payments?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So as councillors are aware, we have a sale of land commencing for unpaid rates on the 13th of June. That also takes into consideration any outstanding water on those properties. As of this week, the General Manager gave a directive to install the flow restrictors. So we currently have 21 flow restrictors that we can install for excess water that's over $10,000. The next category, there are 58 flow restrictors that we can install for properties that are over $5,000. That will commence within the next couple of weeks to install those restrictors and hopefully reduce the amount of outstandings over the 4 months to 5 years.
Thanks. Another question you may want to just stay there for a bit. For both the rates and the water, do we know, do we have a breakdown on both geographically and, I guess, property type as to who's not paying? Do you know if is it Harden, is it Young, is it the villages, is it farms, businesses, residential? Do we know what that looks like in terms of the overdue?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we have a breakdown between Young, Harden and Burrawa, and both between residential and other charges, which are in the reports.
Yes.
As in, we do have a breakdown that would distinguish between what type of categories, as in farmland or business.
Yeah.
However, we don't provide that in the report, but I can certainly.
Yeah, that'd be
report
wonderful.
that.
Yeah. And the one last question, sorry to keep you up there.
No, it's all good.
On page 54, there's mention of a grant outstanding.
Correct.
Do we know why that's still outstanding?
So there's a bit of a departmental push between the Department of Premier and Cabinet of actually who's responsible for this. So in our eyes, the $40,000 is due to council, and we're currently negotiating. And again, the General Manager gave a direction this week that we would negotiate with the Department of Premier and Cabinet to actually get to the bottom of which one of those parties within interdepartmental parties would pay for that.
And do we have a sense of when that might get resolved? Or
No.
Yeah.
So hopefully by the next meeting, the next council meeting, I'll have a more up-to-date perspective on that one.
Great, thanks so much.
No worries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that, Director. And yeah, that the overdue issues, Councillor Blackwell, is a issue that's been there since day dot, and we're pushing very hard to reduce just the amount and the length of time it's out. And I congratulate staff on the ongoing work they do towards that. Councillor Flannery, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just again on the overdue, the 2 to 3 months is nearly $1 million. Is it always? I look, I didn't refer back to other notes. It would be good to put a lid on it before it gets out of control. How does that compare to, say, last quarter or this time last year? And do we send out, other than just the usual, reminder notice, do we send out a letter saying to, say, 2 to 6 months in arrears to try and push them?
Yep, through you, Mr. Mayor. What actually happens is we send out overdue notices, then we actually send out letter of demand letters, anything that comes over the due date. So if water accounts are due, we give them overdue notice, then we give a letter of demand notice. Anything over them, we send to debt collection.
And how does that compare? Is that higher than usual for the 2 to 3 months?
Off the top of my head, I ideally don't know the answer to that, but I can definitely report back on that. Yep.
Thank you for that.
Just one more question.
Any other questions? Councillor Douglas.
When we send the letters out, are they done by registered post? Do we confirm that they've actually received them?
So when it's a council letter, we just send them out via post. If it's a letter of demand, not necessarily. However, when it's outstanding collections, yes, they are registered. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. No further questions on that report. I had a mover and a seconder. I'll put that. All those in favour? You. Item 12.4, plant acquisition and disposal movements. There's a report there, councillor, and the recommendation is to receive and note the report. Going to move Councillor Flannery, seconded Councillor Blackwell. Thank you. Any
Just
questions?
a question.
Councillor Flannery.
Just a question for the director. Not too sure, not here. Question for Simon. The grader, which depot did it go to? I only have vague memories of voting it through. Can you tell us about the grader?
For you, Mr. Mayor, I can't actually recall which one it went to. We bought a grader and a street sweeper with it was a resolution of the council, but it escapes me exactly which location it went to. So, I'm not 100% sure on that one.
And I think we also voted through the purchase of was it a tar sprayer or a couple of tar sprayers? Have we been able to acquire that yet?
No, the tar sprayer is a very specialised piece of equipment, and you could place an order with that piece of equipment, but it's a long time to actually go from construction of that equipment to actually supply of that equipment. So what you'll find, we may have started that process as per council's request. However, it'll be an extensive period before that's actually delivered. So that would come back to council, I imagine, in the budget format to actually see that again.
So that's not in these numbers. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any Councillor Flannery?
Yes, I do have another. It's probably not for Simon, but just noting the movements, and it was a few people have noted to me, but if we're looking at assets, which I guess this is not necessary, there must be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of road signs lying on the sides of roads that are unused for whoever is responsible for them. I mean, in all seriousness, do we have a policy on collecting road signs that are an asset of council?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we do collect road signs at the end of roadworks. I have had some reports personally from members of the community, and I've gone and checked those sites and removed the signs. And in those instances, they've been contractors' signs, so not a cost to council.
Fair enough. I've got 4 in my workshop that my men have picked up over the last few weeks that someone can come and pick up, but they're generally lying in the grass or have been tipped over by people, but there'd be thousands of dollars worth of road signs. I think Sam McGuinness from Boorowa gave, when there was water over the road, they said, we'll bring some signs out, and he gave one of the staff a box trailer load of signs that have never been picked up.
Okay, thank you. I'll follow that up.
Thank you for that. Any further, Councillor Douglas?
Director, just wondering whether you could answer the replacement or the new mowers. Are they replacement mowers or are they new mowers? Are we selling old ones?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, they are replacement mowers.
So the other ones will go for disposal?
Yes.
They're normally tractors.
Okay. If they're in decent condition, they can go to the progress associations. Otherwise, yeah, they'll be disposed of.
Thank you,
Well, one would normally think that if we're replacing them, that they've seen better days and that had their day. But it's very pleasing to read that there's 3 new mowers being purchased. I was quite happy to read that item myself. Any other questions in regard to that, Councillor Blackwell?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a more general question, I guess. Obviously, we've had a lot of movement back and forth here, with sales and purchases. I presume that's kind of the last big chunk of asset purchases in this regard for the little while. We're not going to be doing multi-million-dollar purchases again next year, or are we planning to buy more trucks and graders and things?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, there is a plant replacement program. We bring that to a budget, and that extends out over the future years, depending on the reserve position of that particular fund. So during the course of the current year, you will see your quarterly budget review. Will update you on the acquisitions so far. So these are estimates to the 30th of June. The actuals are still taking place at this point in time.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for that, Simon. Any other questions in regard to that report? If not, I'm Councillor Davis.
I don't know who this is towards. On page 55, estimated purchase price adopted in budget is over estimated 3.5 million. And then the proposed budget for June 2025 was 4.1. Do we get quotes on these machines, or do we just estimate the price? Because 570,000, I thought was a bit of a gap between the pricing. That was all.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The initial is an estimate because obviously you can get a tender at a point in time, and then you can actually accept that tender, and that would come back through you for the large purchase items. But the initial budget, they are based on an estimate because you haven't actually acquired them at that particular point in time or received a quotation.
Thank you. If you have a look at the report there, construction and heavy plant budget, there was nothing estimated, and in the proposed budget there's $900,000. So that would say that, but then there's a reduction of 497 on the truck acquisition. So that makes up the difference in your numbers, Councillor. Any other questions in regard to that report? Then I'll put that. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. 12.5, information systems. That's January and February 2025. We'll have a mover in that report. Councillor Flannery, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Blackwell. Any questions? Councillor Flannery.
I've got a few questions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So on the background, it's the objectives of the ongoing discussion of Tech 1. So for the director, how many of the objectives have been achieved in those 5 dot points? Is one question. And then over the page, it's the integration of, I won't read it, but accounts payable, e-invoicing. Have we achieved any of those? Has it been achieved, or is it finalised? What's the status of it? Supplier portal, what is the status of it? Because this is the same comment has been running now for months. Is there a status of these items?
Through the mayor. Is this, I don't know if this is on. How many objectives have been achieved? The objectives are ongoing with the discussion. So we are undertaking reviews, reviewing the configuration. We have had various trainings, but that will be ongoing. So none of them have actually been ticked off completely. It's an ongoing project. And in terms of the supplier portal and accounts payable, there is an update in the report, and that's ongoing as well. So they haven't actually been completed. But it's been significant changes to the report, and we are going to update that further next month to make sure that you're getting a full coverage of what's happening.
Okay, I'll wait till next month. It wasn't clear to me which of those when you said it's further. I read all the report, but I wasn't clear what's been achieved.
Thank you, councillor. And yeah,
Through you,
councillor. Matthew?
just on the back of the ARIC the other day, everyone seemed very happy with Tech One, the progress and the training, and it was nearly a moot point that we're talking about it a lot because it really is an ongoing thing, and there has been a lot of action going on around it. So it was really it gave me a lot of confidence to know that a lot of training had been done and people were very sort of happy with the progress.
Thank you for your contribution, councillor. With that, much appreciated. And as Councillor Flannery was indicating, the standard report we've been getting on this matter for a lot of months has been pretty standard. So it's refreshing to hear that there'll be an update in how the status is reported. Councillor Dodd.
Previously, when we had this report, we had the completed section and the in progress section, and it made it really clear what had been in there for a lot of times and what things had just been worked on in the last little while. I actually wondered if this was maybe better as a quarterly report now that so many things are in there and it's changing less, but I guess I'd have to make an amendment to bring it quarterly because there's less things changing because, like Councillor Mackie said, a lot of work has already been done. And then if it came back quarterly and then we had the in progress and then the completed separately like we used to. So I might move an amendment.
Certainly, councillor.
That this report comes back quarterly instead of monthly.
Point B will be that council receives the report on the information system status quarterly.
Could I just, given I think I moved that as long as we get the more detailed report in April, subject to a more detailed report in April. Because I just generally, from what I read, don't know exactly where it's up to and what staff are happy with and, you know, what they're not happy with and what we need to focus on.
Okay.
I'd be happy if the report wasn't in here at all and that it was working seamlessly.
So we got that up. Yeah. Point B, we're happy with that. Councillor Flannery, you were the mover. You're happy with that?
Do we need
okay.
to?
He's happy with that.
Do we need to note though that Councillor Flannery said that it would be the first one is in
No,
April?
no.
That'll just happen anyway.
We will bring the report back next month, or I'll hear about it, I'm sure.
Okay, so that now becomes the recommendation. Councillor Blackwell.
Sorry, one more question for me. Perhaps to bring back in April, it says in the report a Gantt chart is provided, but one has not been provided. If we could bring that back in April, I'd like to see that.
Sure, through you, Mr. Mayor. That was provided in previous reports and was one of the things that we took out because it actually wasn't reflective of the information in the report. So that was an omission that we forgot to take that part of it out.
Thank you.
On that note, I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour? All right. Thank you, councillors. Item 12.6, 22-26 delivery program and 24-25 operational plan half-yearly progress report. The recommendation is there in front of you with the report, councillors. Move Councillor Blackwell, seconded Councillor Flannery. Do you have any questions in regard to that?
Yes, through you.
Councillor Douglas?
I have noticed that on a lot of them it says that it's ongoing advocacy and collaboration. What exactly does that mean?
So with, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, without having an exact example of one of them that you're asking about, that's fine. I know a lot of them do say that. It's somewhere where council's not necessarily responsible for the action, but our responsibility lays more in advocacy. So it could be trying to encourage more doctors to the area or local business to the area. So having those meetings with healthcare providers and educational institutions and things like that, state government, so that we can encourage that to happen.
How often does that happen? The report was just a little bit wishy-washy. Yeah. It was like, as a fill-in, it says, oh, we'll advocate and collaborate, but it doesn't actually give details. So with education, medical services, when does that happen and how does that happen?
Well, it happens as it comes up. So at general managers meetings, at country mayors meetings, at meetings with the local member, it happens on an ad hoc basis.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to emphasise that, it's a broad statement to say advocacy. It's ongoing. We can't record every letter, every part. We've had requests in relation to doctors' practices. We've talked with the local member, etc. But that was one example. That was one piece of correspondence. So it's an ongoing process. It's important that it's in some way represented within the document, that it is on our mind that we may not be responsible for it, but it's certainly incumbent upon us to push for it.
Thank you. On that note then, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. Item 12.7 is the development application stats for February 2025. The reports there and the recommendation is to receive and note the reports. I have a mover. Councillor Blackwell, seconded Councillor Flannery. Any questions in regard to that item? Councillor Flannery.
Just some details on the free-range poultry farm at Borua, where it's up to. And there was.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, it's on Stop the Clock. There's several issues that are required there. There's a cost summary report. There needs to be some revised plans, a traffic impact assessment's outstanding, an odour report, and water supply. So we issued a final Stop the Clock back in December, and we plan to make a determination on the information that we have in front of us next month.
So you have been in contact with the applicant
Many times.
And-
So they're on the.
right.
We have three interactions per Stop the Clock.
Fair enough. 431 Scenic Road, Young.
Councillor Flannery, if you can give me the page and the DA number, then I can.
Okay, sorry. Page 128. The DA is 2025-0005.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we approved that on the 4th of this month. So, yeah, just timing when the report was collated.
Any other?
And Carinya Court, has there been any follow-up on the pre-DA lodgement?
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, there's been communication about the next steps, which is to lodge a modification. I understand they're clear about what those next steps are, and we expect something imminent.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? Councillor Blackwell.
Yeah. Firstly, just wanted to note positively the about 10% drop in DA over 40 days. I know it's been brought up before. It's nice to see that number come down since the last time we've chatted about this. Question about a specific DA. I haven't got the page number. Sorry, I got the DA number 2024-0990. I think it's 128, maybe 129. It's the industrial storage of products on Rockdale Road. So we find the exact page number. Sorry. I should have put the page number down. Someone find it before me, I'll buy you lunch.
So, you, Mr. Mayor, do you mean 20 Rockdale Road?
That's the one, yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Do we know what kind of industrial products they'll be storing there? It's a bit, I mean, obviously it's vague because it's a summary report, but do we know what industrial products there mean?
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, I need to take that one on notice. I don't have that detail here today.
I'd have been surprised if you did.
Um,
Thank you. Any other questions?
That's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Councillor
through
Douglas.
you, Mr. Mayor. So I have two. I'm just jumping. So first page, straight off the bat. Why are we still chasing? So it's Hazeldean, there's a 10 lot subdivision after what 1,114 days. Why haven't we just said no more?
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, we actually have refused it in the last few days because the issue was about Crown land and the water races historically. Crown land are just unwilling to move on the issue, so we've had to refuse it.
And another one, so on page 123, it's the last one.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, we also refused that one after earlier this month. So
Did we take 254 days to refuse, or was that waiting on information from the applicant?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the column on the right-hand side is our processing days. So we've spent 2 working days on this, processing days on this, and the rest is time with the applicant.
Thank you for that, Director. Any other questions to the Director? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 12.8. Been a while coming. Community Facility, Cemetery at 145 Thornhill Street, Young. I'd like to move the recommendation. If we could get a seconder. Councillor Langford, thank you. I am not going to say too much about this because the sooner I get a majority of hands in the air, the work can start. But as you can see, there's a 300-page report there in regard to the matter. So if anyone else has got any questions or in regard to the matter, Councillor Dodd.
I have one really quick comment, and I was pleased to see that there's extra accessible parking proposed because I think that's a really good idea.
Thank you. Councillor Flannery.
Look, I congratulate the staff on bringing this forward. I would like to see a couple of things. Firstly, I'd like to see something more aesthetically pleasing than a colour-bond shed. But I guess we need some sort of storage. But what other options would there be? And what costing do we have on it? I imagine there's still a lot to be finalised.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, most of those details will be attended to via the landscape plan. The hat we're wearing today is in our regulatory capacity of approving the DA. We are not, from a planning perspective, actually interested in the optimal design. It's the design that the applicant has put forward to get their DA consent. We've conditioned the landscaping, and so those kind of matters can be attended to post-consent.
Okay, very good, because I know the cemetery's not visited frequently, but I think something better than a colour-bond shed should exist. Is there reason to do that? Should we consider doing the chapel now, or is that again would be subject to design? And just
through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll let the applicant answer that.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the chapel will be considered a future stage consistent with the master plan. It wasn't included at this stage in order to simplify the assessment process.
just well for the director, if we approve this today, how soon will it all begin?
So preliminary works will start this financial year, but the main construction won't start until 25-26 financial year.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Director. And yeah, I shouldn't say too much in regard to the matter. The finishing touches will come when they come. The main part is to have a cemetery that's ready to accept our community. Councillor Douglas.
Have we also looked at our plans for the future? So once we build this and we fill that one up, we looked at areas around that to grow.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the full cemetery, when fully designed, has about 100 years of capacity. So that should do us for the foreseeable future.
I'm out. I think you're in. Okay, councillors, back to you. Thank you for the question and thank you for the answer, Director. On that note, I'm going to put the matter. All those in favour? Thank you, unanimous. Thank you, councillors. That's, yeah, good to see. Hope I wasn't too excited. Took me to 12.9. Yep, restricted access vehicle non-permitted usage council roads. And I know there's a question asked about this. And receive and note the report. Do I have a move and a second?
Can I move with an
Councillor
amendment?
Flannery with
An amendment.
and Councillor Davis has seconded with an amendment.
So the amendment would be, can we have another report come back with a list of outstanding applications for heavy vehicle access, because I think this report's missed the mark.
Just give our stand-in minute taker for us. On to any councillor? No.
In April or May would be my.
Closest date to the report. What date would be for the next meeting, the actual meeting?
Yeah.
What would be the date at which we file?
Yeah, we could do it for April. Yeah. Oh, as at.
If you're not sure, say
Yeah.
May. Play safe.
Oh, sorry.
Make it May.
I'm just
by May.
struggling to look at the calendar in my head. That's all.
It's easy. Right. Okay. Okay. Would you like to speak to your amendment, councillor?
Yep, thank you. Look, I think the purpose of this report, or the initial question, not so much the report, was to find out what heavy vehicle access is being utilised or required throughout the broader council area. So I was a bit particularly alarmed when I saw that follow-up action will be for enforcement at council on page 455. The council is also seeking information from South East weight of loads of councils in the region which undertakes education and enforcement of truck movements. I think the frustration of heavy vehicle operators is their lack of access, not to be further flogged for being on the roads that they may choose to run down in trying to do their jobs. So, and I note somewhere else in the report it says agriculture is the main industry of this Hilltops Council. So we need to find out what applications are in and what roads we need to look at upgrading or doing improvements on.
Thank you, councillor. Any other questions or in regard, councillor Blackwell?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess hearing Councillor Flannery's changed how I'm framing the question now. Because I was looking at it pretty from the point of report of an enforcement point of view in terms of keeping trucks off roads that aren't safe for the trucks to be on. And I think that's not what Councillor Flannery was potentially thinking of when he asked the question. I'm happy to be clarified on that. I think the question is, is some of this stuff even within council's power in terms of these road upgrades, and also to what extent should we consider people who may actually want less truck capacity on their roads? Like, just to give Maringo Gap Road for example, like, is that a road that can really, even with upgrades by council, really sustain a whatever grade class 10 trains and class 10 trucks? So I guess that would be my question: is to what extent is this something we can even take action in ownership of feasibly in terms of our budget and our organizational capacity, but also in terms of are we looking at managing roads that actually aren't safe for vehicles and perhaps residents' concerns about trucking as well?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, it is council's responsibility as the road authority to ensure that only the vehicles that can safely use a road are using that road. So certainly some of our roads would be cost prohibitive to upgrade to the required standards for restricted access vehicles, but a lot of them also conversely wouldn't. So the first step is to assess the road comprehensively, and we're actually being included in a program run by Transport for New South Wales in terms of pre-classifying roads, so that less operators have to go through the permit application process to get access. However, that's a process that we're very early on, so it'll take time to get into that program fully, so that access is streamlined.
Sorry, follow-up question there, Mr. Mayor. Sorry. Are we also looking at compliance to the extent that we're looking at that as well, in terms of monitoring who's allowed to and not allowed to use roads and making sure that's upheld?
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor, the comments about compliance in the report are very much because council, as the roads authority, has a responsibility to make sure that people are using the road safely. Council doesn't directly undertake the enforcement action. However, as noted, the South East Weight of Loads group, council is a member of that group, and that group does some of the compliance along with National Heavy Vehicle Regulator and police. But this report wasn't so much focused on compliance, but on identifying the roads that people are using for these vehicles and that perhaps should be targeted for upgrades.
Question through you. Could the director please advise us of the money, the quantum that we spend on South East Weights of Loads, and do we have a contract yet?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have that information on me, but I will find out and bring it back to council.
Well, a couple of years ago, I think it was $72,000. So without adding them up, there'd be there's probably about 50 incidents that we know of through the classifiers of trucks running down roads that are not approved. So I think by any measure, it might be a expensive exercise for us.
Thank you for that. Any comment in regard to that?
If we could be advised at the next meeting, do we have a contract and what the cost is?
Okay, taking on notice.
Yep.
Thank you.
I was
Councillor
quite
Dodd.
concerned about thank you, Mayor Ingram. I was quite concerned about Marengo Gap Road because that information was from 2022 and
Somebody's going to pay a fine.
no, it's the computer.
Councillor, the reason for that phone going off is staff are trying to get Councillor Stadmiller trying to zoom in, apparently. So I won't put up with it much longer, but I'll just give a little bit. Councillor Dodd.
Yes, was my concern particularly about Marengo Gap Road because people had mentioned that to me, that the number of trucks coming through anecdotally has significantly increased. And this is now data that's nearly 3 years old. And I drove that road recently, and it's barely suitable for a car in sections. And there's bits that have been upgraded after the storm that are beautiful, but there's lots of areas that are almost single lane. And it worries me that there are that many trucks using that road. And I guess and so what I'm hearing is we can't actually do anything about that because it's not our remit, and the only thing we can do is upgrade the road. Is that right?
Well, so through you, Mr. Mayor, in terms of compliance, what we can do is request the authority to spend more time policing that section of road.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? If not, I'll put that in the recommendation. All those in favour?
Hang on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Douglas.
So I just wanted to highlight or ask the industrial area and the new truck stop and parking area. Are you aware that the majority of the trucks that use that don't have access to that site? It's not rated for them. And why not?
As for why not, I'll have to take that on notice. But yeah, thank you for raising that. I'll look into it.
Thank you, Director. Do we have any more questions before I put that matter? All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. Item 12.10, Beverley Water Supply Options is a report there, councillors, and a recommendation. I have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Blackwell, seconded Councillor Douglas. Any questions in regard to that report? Councillor Blackwell.
Yes, questions from me. I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed in the report. It feels like just a restatement of what we already knew and didn't know. And I'm kind of not sure why it's here in the state that it's in. The question I have is, the report concludes by saying kind of we don't have enough information. So what information do we need? Like what's missing from this? Who haven't we talked to that we should talk to? What haven't we got that we need to get information about this issue? Because to me, it didn't read to be a lot of answers in this report as to what's actually the next step. It just sort of concludes with we've got more to do. Well, what more is there to do?
Good luck with the answer.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so in short, this report is provided to this meeting because there was a council resolution to provide a report. It is an update, as you noted, and the information that we don't yet have and that we will be seeking is information from the association about the state of their assets and their customer base.
I can tell you, Councillor Blackwell, it's been an ongoing issue for a number of years. It's very in-depth and there's no easy fix. Councillor Flannery.
Can I move an amendment, Part B, that we have a report back at the September meeting with answers on some of the options listed? I think in fairness to staff, it'll take that long to get through.
So Councillor Blackwell moved the initial recommendation. Are you happy with the amendment, Part B?
Let's make it October. Give them an extra month.
October, okay. So we got that up. Are there any other questions while we're getting that up on the board in regard to this item? Okay, so we're good to go? Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. Item 12.11, we have road causeway replacement grant funding. Councillors, the report there, and there's a recommendation there. I have a mover and a seconder to start with. Councillor Mackie, thank you, and Councillor Davis. Any questions in regard to this report? Councillor Flannery.
Well, yes, do we have any applications in for this funding separate to the bridge of our own? I read it and thought, gosh, I know there's stormwater problems in Harden that have been recurring. I thought we should have some applications in outside of this.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, we do not have any other applications to this round of grant funding.
Is there a reason we haven't identified any other issues that are climate change related or disaster related?
So, as the councillor has quite rightly pointed out, we do have other issues that are disaster related. However, this project was identified as an outstanding issue that had been brought to a former council and resolved to be approached in conjunction with Upper Lachlan Shire Council, and that's why this project has progressed.
Well, I certainly think it's a worthy project, although it's not. I wouldn't be overly optimistic about when you read the details of the application grant. I wouldn't be overly optimistic that we're going to achieve some of the desired outcomes, whereas I think there are other flooding issues that are occurring in towns, particularly Harden, where a greater number of people are impacted and it's been ongoing. So given it's I think a 5-year program we're into year 3, we should certainly compile a list, but I think we'll need to are we compiling the report or is Upper Lachlan?
Upper Lachlan are doing the grant application.
And do we get a review of it? I think we've only got a few days. Do we get a review of it before it gets submitted?
Yes, we are reviewing it.
Well, I think for the sake of the crossing, we need to make sure a strong application is put forward. But anyway, and I would recommend we compile a list before this time next year for other disaster issues.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions in regard to that item? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Thank you. We welcome Councillor Stadmiller. Can you hear us, Councillor Stadmiller? Would appear you can't. Can you hear us, Councillor Stadmiller? We'll just keep moving along then. Item 12.12 takes us to Capital Works report. Mover and second, Councillor Blackwell. Seconded, Councillor Gallo. I'm sorry, have I jumped?
12.14.
Old Weo Road. 12.11.
We're on.
Oh, that's it.
12.12, Capital Works report.
Can I jump in with some questions?
I had a
Mr. Mayor?
mover and a seconder. So, Council, we all back and right? We all good? Thank you. Sorry about the interruptions here. Councillor Blackwell, you got a question?
Yes, a couple. I'll start off making the mayor happy with the gravel resheeting question.
Don't get it wrong.
I'll try not to, and I'm sure you'll correct me if I am. A lot of these gravel resheeting projects are in the planning stage. Just how many we expect to complete by the end of financial year?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we are expecting to complete the entirety of the gravel resheeting program by the end of financial year.
Great. Second question is, could you provide an update on the Burrawa flood mitigation project? How's that going?
So the Burrawa flood mitigation project is in the design phase, which includes the consultants undertaking some very limited community consultation with the directly affected residents. However, as to how far along that design process is, I don't have that information on me yet.
So we don't know when exactly the works will actually kick off.
No. So at this stage, I believe we have funding for the design, but we haven't yet allocated funding for construction.
Yeah, great. Last question from me, just with regards to Friend Park in Gaylong. Was it Friends Park? I always get the two confused. Obviously, there's a few overlapping interests there, Crown Lands, Aboriginal Land Claim. What's the do we have a sense of the timeline as to when we might be able to, when some of these issues might get resolved and we can start putting in the work there, or is this kind of an indeterminate thing? We're going to keep pushing it back.
Yes. So my understanding is based on those overlapping, or let's say, overlapping or competing interests in the land. We don't have a clear picture on timing because it's not in council's hands so much.
Yeah, great. Thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Flannery.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, we'll follow up on Friends Park. So there is an Aboriginal land claim on part of Friends Park because it has a closed road or a crown road running through part of it, which we established via a survey. And the next step was to get detail, follow up with the Lands Department on that. So has anything actually occurred?
Yes, so we have been following up with Crown Lands, and should note the report says that we're completing the survey. The survey is actually being completed.
Can you just say that again? I didn't hear you, sorry.
The report states that we are completing the survey. However, the survey has been completed.
Yep, that's definitely the case. The survey's been completed. I mean, the issue is from the Gaylon community, do they try and move the tennis courts, or is it, is it 10 square metres? Is it 50 square metres? How much, what area are they talking about? If we're going to be waiting years, they might as well move the tennis courts, or move part of the tennis courts, or proceed with, there's 3 tennis courts there, or there were. I think the intention is to upgrade 2 of them, but nothing's happening. So they tried to upgrade Limestone Park, and they discovered that there was a land claim of 20 years of age on that. And now they've moved to the tennis courts, and they're told there's a land claim on part of it. They're getting money each year from the trucks going through the town. They're running out of options to upgrade the town. So we just can't sit here forever and say, oh, what's next?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, the issues affect the entirety of Friend Park. So we would not be able to proceed at this stage in any part of that broader area. It's all Crown land and has similar issues.
So the tennis courts are on the majority of an old road, or a disused road, or an unformed road.
Yes, part of the tennis courts was an unformed road.
Okay, well, perhaps we should inform the Gaylon community of that so that they can consider alternative options. Hilltops parks and playgrounds, moving on, which we've spent 2% of 150,000. Which parks and playgrounds, and what's that for? And will it be completed this year?
Yeah, I believe that's the shade sail installation, but I'll have to confirm.
Sorry, Director, did you say shade sales?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. No, thank you. That's what I thought.
Will that be completed this year? I suppose if you don't know what it is, you don't
Yes.
know.
Well, assuming that it is the shade sails, yes.
That's good. They'll be ready for winter. Okay.
Councillor.
Next question. The street lighting in Young, will that be completed this financial year?
We'll have to take that question on notice. I don't have any details of that project on me.
Okay, line marking, Cunningar Road, there was resealing done a couple of months ago, and it's waiting away. So 100,000 budget, 59,000 expended. I suggest it's probably all been expended now. Bar line marking. Is there any idea when the line marking, that's in the vicinity of Gaylong Road, and there's 2 overtaking lanes. It needs doing with some priority.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, I agree with the councillor's opinion that it needs to be done with priority, and it will be done as soon as we can get the contractors on site to do it.
Okay, it's because it's not clear on what lane belongs to what there. Moppity Road, $300,000 budget, 270,000 expended, works completed. Do we know what's outstanding?
Um, 538. Thank you, councillor.
Page 538.
Yes, so it is simply a case of the costing being outstanding. So a lag
Costing
in
just needs updating.
yeah
Okay.
in processing those costs.
And Winwood Road, I assume that's Harden.
I assume so.
So there's 150,000, page 542, there's a allocation of $150,000 there. We've expended 50,000 or 51 by the look of it, although it says only 2% of budget.
Yes, so the 2% is the budget for this financial year, not the total budget.
So what further work? That would nearly encompass all of that road. I would have thought it's only about 3 kilometres long.
Yes, so as noted, the funding for that road expires in October 2027. So we do have 2.5 years to complete the work.
Okay. Houstonia Road, there's $300,000 allocation. Current budget is 108,000, expended 73,000. Is any further work required there? Last time I drove it, I didn't think the work. I thought, given the work that was done last year, the road's in reasonable condition. Do you know if there's further work required, or is that access to requirements?
So no further work required definitely this financial year. As noted in the comments, it's simply a case of costs not having been processed yet.
So has it all? It's all been spent though.
For this financial year, so that 108.
So there's still 200,000 or thereabouts, $192,000 of allocation there.
Yes, remaining for future years.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions to the director on this matter? Councillor Douglas.
Page 544, town improvements. Could you explain what town improvements were completed and why it was over budget?
Yes, so through you, Mr. Mayor, the figure for expenditure on that line is actually incorrect. The actual expenditure is about 49,000, so very close to budget. That figure of 64,000 has remained in that table from an earlier version of the quarterly budget review, and unfortunately wasn't corrected in this version of the report. The town entrance improvements are to do with making the maintenance and presentation of the town entrances to Young making the maintenance easier so that they present better. So you would have seen there's a section of curbing on the Olympic Highway on the Wombat side of Young. There's been regrading of the road verge in that area and in other areas to make it easier to keep the grass looking presentable and give a better impression of people entering into Young.
Page 541, Thornhill Street stormwater and upgrade. Where is stage 2 at?
So stage 2, I believe we're just waiting for the final asphalt work. It has been constructed and sealed. Once that asphalting work is complete and line marking, we'll move on to the final section.
And that fell in budget?
Yes.
Also, page 532, it says Rockdale Road is 95% complete. What is still outstanding? And it also says that you're still waiting on costs to come in. Will that take it over budget, or will it still be in budget?
So I believe Rockdale Road is going to be within budget, and it is complete as of today. It wasn't complete as of the 28th of February.
Thank you.
Any other questions to the director? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. I'll just note again, Councillor Stadmiller, can you hear us? Councillor Stadmiller has joined the meeting. Councillors, welcome. We're up to item 12.13, I believe. Operational Works Report. First of all, I'll be looking for a move and a second to receive a note. Moved, Councillor Flannery. Seconded, Councillor Dodd. Thank you. Questions in regard to the report, councillors?
Yes.
Councillor Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, just to the director, more of a comment from people in Boorowa to thank the staff for their increased attention to the War Memorial Parks, the two of them that are there at the town entrance. It hasn't gone unnoticed that those are getting more regularly attended to, and I'm definitely getting people. Just wanted to pass on their thanks to the staff for doing that more frequently.
Thank you.
Question I have, I guess it's a specific, but it's also got a broader problem. I raised with you one of the briefings a particular issue about the guttering in the front of that Marsden Street chemist area, and the way the ticketing kind of, when you're putting it in the ticketing, the kind of language that's used in regards to, I guess, the word resolved is often used in the kind of ticketing response, and I don't think the public are quite on the same page as to what we think it means versus what they think it means. So just perhaps a recommendation or a comment that we might look into reviewing the language we use in the kind of ticketing response, because I think yes, yeah, when a customer puts in a request and it comes back as resolved, but it's not actually been physically fixed or remedied, I think creates a lot of discord and disconnect with how people understand what we've done versus what we haven't done. And just kind of wanted to get your sense as to, is that something we can try and do in terms of how we respond to customers through the CRM there?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, there have been some issues where complaints have been resolved by staff, and the response back to the customer hasn't necessarily made sense to the customer, and we're reviewing our procedures for how we handle those complaints to ensure that that's addressed.
Thank you for that. Anyone have any other question? Councillor Flannery.
Look, the plan, the works plan and the works completed are good, but when I was in Harden yesterday and when I was in there the week before, I thought these garden beds need water, and when they're brown means they need a lot of water. What is the watering program for the garden beds in Harden? Because I think I've been raising it for a while. It's insufficient.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, it depends on the particular garden bed. I believe we have we had an automated system that ran out of the office that would have maintained some of those garden beds in terms of watering. However, as for the specifics of what is watered when and where, as I've previously advised council, I believe we are working on a revised maintenance schedule for the open spaces in Harden, and we'll provide that for information at a future date.
Could you please follow up? Could I kindly request that you or the general manager have a look at the gardens in Harden and then discuss with the staff the watering requirements, please?
Yes,
I'm pretty sure the general manager's noted that down, and that will be looked at. Any other questions? Councillor Gallo.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Director, could we just have an update on Coddington Park? I know that's, part of the flood issue, but just an update so that we can let the residents know, please.
Yes, so through you, Mr. Mayor, we will be releasing a media release by Friday this week on the status of a number of parks that are due for shade sail installation, which includes Coddington Park. And part of the advice on Coddington Park will be that the soft fall and garden mulch will be replaced following the shade sail installation. And we are still finalising the timing for covering the rest of the site with topsoil and hydro mulching for grass cover. The asbestos has all been removed from the surface.
Sorry, Director, could you just speak up and give that last line again about that?
Yes, the asbestos has been removed.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
That's what I was after. Thank you. Yep.
Of course.
So will it be mowed anytime soon?
When it's reopened, it will be mowed. Yes.
And a rough time frame?
I would have to check the draft media release. I don't have it right in front of me at the moment. And I can do that just now. No,
You're right, Councillor.
It's just very overgrown and it's, yeah, we're getting lots of complaints.
Well, the answer's pretty easy then. It should be done tomorrow or the next day. Whether that's
So-
possible or not, I don't know. But that would be my answer.
Yeah. So
Director?
the shade sail work will start on all three parks next week. So from the 31st. The replacement of material lost in the storm event is still being discussed with our insurer. However, that will be done as soon as the shade sails are complete.
The question was, can someone get down there with a mower?
I take it that the director might and the general manager may have a look at the matter and see what they can come up with from there.
Of course.
Thank you.
Just also, I had a phone call on my way in. Actually, Gloaming Road. I was told it's four-wheel drive access. I know on the report that it says April, and it was badly impacted during the storm. A resident rang me and said it's pretty much four-wheel drive access only.
Thank you. I'll look into that.
Thank you. Any other questions in regard to that report? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? It's unanimous again. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Seddon, I've been looking. Correspondence 12.14, correspondence for information and the recommendations there, councillors. After a mover and a seconder. Councillor Flannery and Councillor Dodd was seconder. Any questions? Put that. All those in favour? Thank you. Takes me to item 12.15, the Local Traffic Committee minutes from December 2024. Recommendation is to receive and note, and all items recommended be formally adopted and placed on council action works list. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Dodd. Seconder, Councillor Davis. Thank you. Any questions or queries in regard to this matter?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question regarding the second item in the minutes, the B-double route in Borua. Has someone got a map or a description of what the changes are being proposed there? And I should declare that I do live near that intersection, so it's my conflict of interest for the day. But just is there some kind of updated map or some kind of visual that we can have a look at as to how it is and what it's going to look like once the changes come through when they come through?
Yes, we can provide a map. So essentially, the existing approved route is the route would be moved one block towards Yass. So to head along Bryle Street to avoid the shops on existing.
So the trucks wouldn't be going through Marsden Street. It's the Pudman.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
Pudman's
so the existing route is Pudman Street.
Yeah.
Or there's also
past the RGA. Yeah.
Yeah. There's also a route along Lachlan Valley Way. That's the state road. However, the other approved route is currently down Pudman Street. The trial was conducted along Bryle Street, and that's the proposed alternative.
Brings it one up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. But yeah, a map would be great. Thanks.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions in regard to that report, councillors? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. Takes me to 12.16. Committee reports requiring no action. A mover and a seconder. Moved Councillor Davis, seconded Councillor Douglas. Any questions? Councillor Blackwell.
One from me, just a quick one. Other progress associations don't send these through, but Gaylong does? Is there a particular reason, or it's just they like to send them and the others don't?
I think it's been a long, through you, Mr. Mayor, I think it's been a long history on various relationships with council. If a community group sends their minutes through, and certainly if there's a representative of council, we bring it for the information of councillors.
Okay, so it's just up to the group if they want to.
It's been up to the
Exactly right.
group.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager, for that. Yeah. Question, Councillor Flannery.
Well, just for Gaylong, Jugiong, I'm not too sure what Wombat is, but a number of the progress associations receive funding from council to carry out activities like mowing the parks and whatnot. And to that end, they're meant to send through reports detailing the financial situation.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions in regard to that item? I'll put that. All those in favour? Unanimous. You're watching councillors. Yeah. Item 12.17 is the action summary report. The recommendation is to note the status of the action plan. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Douglas, thank you. Councillor Davis. Any questions in regard to the report, Councillor Flannery?
Yes, on, I don't even know what page it is, but the rail, the Gaylong Bora Rail Trail, do we have a date for an initial meeting, or where's that up to, please?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we haven't set a date for the meeting, but we will be doing that as soon as possible.
Very good, so that'll happen in the next month or so.
Thank you, Director. Any other questions in regard to that report? Well, the Director's there.
Just to confirm, it is both Councillor Flannery and myself on that committee, yes.
That's correct.
Sorry, Mr. General Manager.
It says the next page over, state of draft annual report, state of our region, was to come to this meeting. Did I miss something? March meeting?
Silence is golden.
Sorry, which report?
What page are you on, Councillor?
Through the mayor, it wasn't the report coming to the meeting, that's already been presented, but it was page 55 stating that agriculture is the largest industry and asking for a list of the roads that trucking businesses are using outside their permits.
Okay, thank you. So the report's not coming to this meeting. I did think we had that.
Sorry, that report was the report that was presented earlier this evening. Thank you.
Any other questions in regard to that report? No? Okay, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. Takes me to questions with notice, which are nil. Then takes me to a notice of motion, which was put by Councillor Douglas of the Hilltops Pool and Aquatic Centre Management and Multi-Pass. So, Councillor Douglas would like to move her motion. I get a second of Councillor Davis will second that. Councillor Douglas, would you like, now I know there's a report being given there and a recommendation is there and a response. Councillor Douglas, would you like to speak to your motion about that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I brought this through mainly through a lot of the comments that we received through this swimming season regarding, I guess, cleanliness of our facilities, availability of our facilities, and while council have addressed the multi-season pass to be able to access all pools within our regions. I still feel like we need to address the facility management itself. And that's why I brought this forward tonight.
Thank you, Councillor. Would the Director like to speak in response? Thank you.
Through the mayor, there is a thorough options paper for swimming pool management going forward, being prepared at the moment. That's coming to the April briefing and the April council meeting. So that will we have certainly taken on board all the issues that have been reported and the feedback from the community, and that will all be taken into consideration when we bring that options paper so that council can make an informed decision about the way forward for Hilltops pools.
Thank you. Councillor Flannery.
I assume, therefore, there'll be some discussion and workshop prior to the meeting on that, because certainly the complete mental blank, but there were a number of issues at Harden, as you'd be aware, and the owners of the gym have offered to provide some input. I wouldn't say support. And I think their feedback would be welcome. They sent an email to councillors, I think in January.
Correct.
About it. I know that at least one person was accredited in Harden for lifesaving, but didn't actually have their certificate. They had email approval, but they weren't allowed to work. So I think we've got to have a thorough review.
Thank you for that, Councillor. And yeah, there was a number of issues at all our pools and this season, and they will need to be addressed. And as the Director said, there's a report will be coming to Council. Councillor Stadmel, you have a question?
Yeah, just wondering if you can hear me, Mr. Mayor.
We can hear you, Councillor, yes?
Great. Yeah, I just would like to know if an opportunity will be available to add to a list of issues at the pools leading up to that April meeting, whether it be at a workshop or not, from individual councillors.
Through the Mayor, Councillor Stadmiller, you're welcome to forward on any concerns you have at any time. You have my contact details, and it will also be discussed at the workshop or the briefing, sorry, prior to the council meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. And I think it's a great notice of motion from council that this happen if it's to occur under solid management by Hilltops. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm happy to put that motion resolution to Council. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. But now we're looking for someone to move that we move into confidential. Closed council, move Councillor Dodd, seconded Councillor Blackwell. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We will now move into closed council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We're back on. Righto.
Council in confidential resolved at 15.2-25/79 redevelopment of the former Young Stockyard, sale yards and truck wash. Council resolved to note the report, authorise staff to undertake a procurement process to have a detailed site investigation and contamination assessment of the site, and C, receive a further report regarding costings should there be need for infrastructure removal to allow for site investigation and contamination assessment, and D, put to tender removal and sale of the steel cattle yards. Council then also resolved at report 15.3 25/80 encroachment issue reserve 52-53-2 Jiggion Catholic Cemetery, that council authorise the general manager to complete the negotiations to sign all documentation in relation to the transfer from the Archdiocese of Canberra and Goulburn to council of lots 1 and 2 DP 117819. B, authorise the lease with first right of refusal to purchase lot DP 117819 from the Archdiocese of Canberra and Goulburn to enable continued existing access to the cemetery. C, authorise the payment of the legal fees for the Catholic Archdiocese of Canberra and Goulburn relating to the transfer of the contained in lots 1 and 2 DP 117819 and lease of lot 3 DP 117819. And D, upon transfer of the land to council's lots 1 and 2 DP 117819 to be classified as operational land. Council also resolved at today's meeting at 15.4-25/81 Gaylong Cemetery / land issues. Council resolved to A, authorise the General Manager to request the Minister administering the Crown Lands Act 2016 that Council is appointed as Crown Land Manager of Reserve 1023408 Gaylong Cemetery. B, authorise the land transfer from Public Works to Council for the cemetery extension land, being lot 1711 DP 1312800 for nil consideration. C, upon transfer of the land to Council, lot 1711 DP 1312800 to be classified as operational land. Council finally resolved at 15.5-25/82, Council nominated members to the Southern Regional Planning Panel. Council resolved to receive a note that report in relation to the Council nominated members to the Southern Regional Planning Panel, and B, appoint Miss Amber Bly, Mr Mike Coleman and Mr Craig Filmer as Council nominated members to the Southern Regional Planning Panel. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr General Manager, and thank you, staff and councillors, and I'll now call the meeting closed at 6:15 p.m. Thank you all.